Welcome to Letters to Rising Leaders. It's a podcast series about God, soul, love, and leadership. And I'm your host, Tom Mohr. If you're following along in my book, Letters to Rising Leaders, this is week 15, and the topic is the saint. Isn't that what we're all called to be today, more saintly? In fact, the entire focus of this podcast series is to help us connect our faith lives, our interior journey, with our actions in the world, to first go inward in our relationship with God, in our journey of the soul, to sort out the stuff that we got to sort out inside of us, the hurts and the regrets and the fears and the longings, and sort of get right with our God so that we can become unlocked and can begin to see the world around us, to see the need, to descend into the need, and to serve. God has endowed us with this unique mix of gifts and gaps, and He invites us to get in there and become leaders of goodness in the broken world that we live in. I end each week's podcast, as you know, with the phrase, leader of goodness, go in faith to love and heal the world. This is the way of the saint. We tend to think of saints as utterly inaccessible. They're the ones, painted on the ceilings and the walls of churches, the ones that many, many years after they've died are subjected to this exhaustive multi-year review of their holiness until finally declared by some ecclesial body that, yes, this one is a saint. But I think it's better for us to ask a more simple question. Can I be saintly today? Can I act in goodness? That's all it is. There's nothing fancier than that. Can I act from good motives and in goodness in the way I interact with others in this world? I think it's important to remember every sinner in the world may not be a saint, but every saint is a sinner. One of the reasons I love St. Peter so much is because he was so imperfect. He screwed up all the time, but he kept getting back in the game. He kept seeking to be forgiven so that he could get back in the game and keep going. We're called to see and to respond in our own imperfect ways. How else will this hurting, interconnected world ever heal, if not by leaders of goodness who see and then respond? I want to share with you the story of somebody that I think that did that incredibly well at one point in my work with him. He's a very good friend. His name is Tom Mohr. Tom ran a small business. This was back in the 90s, and he and I were on the board of this organization called the Cookie Cart. And the Cookie Cart operates in North Minneapolis and serves underprivileged youth by helping provide work and homework help and other types of supports for kids in the time after school is out and before often their single parent is back home from work, which, as you can imagine, is a vulnerable time for young people. And the Cookie Cart brings these kids together to bake cookies, to go out into the community and sell them, and so forth. As part of this organization, we hit a crisis. The executive director left us sort of in the lurch. And it was a pretty big deal. And I happened at that time to be chairman of the board, and Tom was on the board. And we had to encounter, what are we going to do about this? Is this the existential moment where the Cookie Cart is going to have to wind down? Because there were real operations going on. We had cookies that had to be produced. We had kids that had to be overseen. The next day, somebody had to show up. Well, Tom Mohr leapt into the breach. Within a week, he had taken a sabbatical from the company he owned, which ended up lasting, I think, for 2 to 3 months. And he had a second in charge who took over 100% to work on his company so that he could leap into the lurch and steady this cookie cart operation and keep things moving, keep the cookies being cooked, the kids being supported until we could go find another executive director. It's just one example of someone becoming a saint, stepping in and doing what a saint does. I'm going to leave it there for now. The song of the week is O Rising Young. I wrote this song as an encouragement and a call to our next generation of rising leaders. Robert Berry joins me on instrumentals. I hope you enjoy it. Here it is.
Rising young, you are brave. There's a hurting, lurching, burning world to save, and all's not lost, but time is short. Come quickly to the breach, O rising young. Rising young, I must confess, my generation's handed you a mess. Now it's on you, for just a breath. Take the lead, seize the moment, oh rising young. God knows that leaders can move mountains. That's good, 'cause mountains must be moved. God knows the reach of your potential, and God is the one who's calling you. A rising young, don't give up. The grace of God runs over in your cup. Run to the knee, step up and serve. You are God's hands and feet, oh rising young. God knows that leaders can move mountains. That's good, 'cause mountains must be moved. God knows the reach of your potential, and God is the one who's calling you. Oh, rising young, you are brave. There's a hurting, lurching, burning world to save. All's not lost, but time is short. Come quickly to the breach, oh rising young. Come quickly to the breach, oh rising young.
O rising young, you are brave. There's a hurting, lurching, burning world to save. Well, that's it for today. I hope you'll join us next week for the next episode in this Letters to Rising Leaders podcast series. As I say each week, leader of goodness, go in faith to love and heal the world.